Good evening, everybody. Welcome yet again to the Fox 26 Sports Stream. As always, I'm Sal Manine with you along for the ride. We appreciate you finding us, whether it was on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, or on our website, fox26houston.com. We're doing this every week as now things are really starting to heat up in the sports world. We got the home stretch of the regular season in baseball. The Astros are getting set to take the field at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City in just a couple minutes away from first pitch. Of course, football season right around the corner, less than 3 weeks away from the start of the college football regular season. And then, of course, NFL preseason already underway. Texans played their first game up in Green Bay. They'll travel to Big D to take on the Cowboys before just one more preseason game. Remember, it's only 3 preseason games in the NFL now. So we will take a look at how the Texans are doing. And then, of course, the biggest story surrounding the Texans, of course, is their franchise quarterback, soon to be former franchise quarterback, maybe still their franchise quarterback, however you want to look at it, Deshaun Watson. Plenty of developments today in a story that continues to change day by day. So we will get into all of that and more over the next handful of minutes here. I mentioned the Astros take the field. They're on the field now. First pitch just a couple minutes away as they take on the Kansas City Royals, one of the worst teams in the American League. But the Astros trying to bounce back from a bizarre loss last night as they rallied back, took the lead, bullpen couldn't hang on to it, and they lost to the Royals. So we will keep you updated as things get underway up in KC. Astros enter the game with a 2.5 game lead over Oakland in the division. But the big news, of course, Deshaun Watson and what exactly is or is not going to happen with him both on and off the field. Of course, he did not travel to Green Bay, was not a part of the first preseason game in which the Texans actually won and showed some things that might get you excited if you're a Texans fan in a 26-7 win over the Packers. Of course, not all the regulars for both teams played a whole lot, but Deshaun was not there for that, and he's yet to be on the field in practices this week. Wasn't there yesterday, wasn't there today as far as when the media was out there and what the media could see. Head coach David Culley was asked about Deshaun's absence during the open portions of training camp each of the last 2 days. Here's what he had to say to our sports director, Mark Berman, and to all the other assembled media up at NRG Stadium this morning.
Deshaun's here. Again, every day he's here, he comes in, he works. He does what we ask him to do. And, he's here every day and he's doing fine.
But is he injured or?
No, he's not injured. He's just, like you said, each day we come up each day and we have a thing for him. And basically we got done what we needed to done yesterday in practice.
Culley was asked if there's a specific reason why Deshaun didn't practice yesterday.
He got his work done yesterday. He just didn't get his work done when we were out here. We had a little different schedule yesterday than we had been, but he got his work in, and he's doing fine.
He's still attending meetings, right?
Yes, he's doing everything just like he has from day one.
So again, no Deshaun out there today, no Deshaun out there yesterday. He did actually practice during portions of the open practice or open parts of camp last week, and he did make a little bit of headlines. Here again is sports director Mark Berman over what Deshaun Watson had to finally say the first time he's actually addressed the media since last offseason.
Media who covered Texans training camp routinely shoot video of Deshaun while he walks to practice and goes through some of the drills. He was clearly bothered by it.
Why y'all always filming me every day? It's the same.
This is the first time Deshaun has said anything to the media since he became the target of civil lawsuits alleging sexual misconduct and or sexual assault. There are 22 such lawsuits against him. He also has 10 criminal complaints against him. Watson, of course, has a standing demand to be traded, which would appear to be very difficult given his legal situation.
And then the latest development this afternoon is that Tony Busby, who is on with Amy Dash, a radio host for CBS Sports Radio and Fox Sports Radio. In an interview with her, Tony Busby said that he's actually spoken to the FBI regarding the Deshaun Watson situation. And remember, 22 civil cases against Deshaun in which Tony Buzbee is representing the plaintiffs, and he did confirm to Fox 26 that, yes, he has spoken with the FBI. Here's what Tony Buzbee had to say in a lengthy statement to Fox 26 earlier today. I can confirm that I've spoken to the FBI. I won't lie about it, but I haven't volunteered it. Another reporter heard a rumor and asked if our office has spoken to the FBI. I just told the truth. I never termed it an investigation. I don't know what their focus is other than I know what I was asked. Beyond that, I don't know their inner workings and continue to focus on the civil cases, as is my job. There is a clear distinction between the criminal and civil process. I am focused on the civil process only. And then to further update, Deshaun's lawyer, Rusty Hardin, a short time ago informed us that he will be holding a news conference tomorrow morning to discuss what he describes as antics regarding Tony Buzbee and how this is all playing out. So we will keep you updated as all that happens. But again, Tony Buzbee confirming that he's spoken with the FBI. He says he is not using the term investigation. He does not know anything other than what he has asked. And Deshaun Watson's representation, Rusty Hardin, will hold a news conference tomorrow morning where he will discuss what is going on right now as Tony Buzbee has made some more comments in the media. But that's where things stand on the Deshaun Watson front, as does not appear he is going to be playing quarterback anytime soon for the Texans, and the off-the-field situation will continue to play itself out. As for what we did see on the field in Green Bay, again, the Texans coming away with the win. It's a preseason, so make of it what you will. You did see the three other quarterbacks all play. Tyrod Taylor got the start, was 4 of 4 passing for 40 yards, led the Texans to a field goal on the opening drive, turned out to be the only drive in which he played. He's a veteran, so the Texans didn't need to see too much more from him. And since he is going to be QB1 for the time being, no reason to risk any further injury with Tyrod Taylor. Davis Mills, though, was, I think, the big name that everybody who's a Texans fan was most excited to get a glimpse of. Showed some other things in which he looked like a rookie, finished his night 11 of 22 passing, 112 yards, interception, did lead the Texans to a couple of scoring drives, and showed you why he was so highly touted coming out of high school, one of the top recruits in the nation, and why a lot of people believe if he stayed healthy throughout his entire career at Stanford, he would have eventually been talked about as a first-round quarterback. Made some impressive throws, other times struggled, did get let down, at least in one big instance, by his offensive line, where they just left a man completely unblocked, and he busted through and sacked Davis Mills nearly as soon as he snapped the ball. I'm not going to make too much one way or another over what you see out of a rookie in training camp. He looked like a rookie, but then again, so did Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson and the guys who were taken in the first round and at the top of the draft. So it's going to be a work in progress as far as what the Texans do or do not get out of their rookie third-round draft pick, Davis Mills. But he got the bulk of the snaps. He was second on the depth chart for the Packers game, and we'll see what happens again this week. Saturday night, the Texans travel to Arlington to take on the Dallas Cowboys in preseason game number 2. One other thing, though, that did jump out in that first preseason game is that the defense looked a lot more comfortable and a lot more in sync than we saw at times last year. And especially when you come down to generating turnovers and coming away with takeaways. That was one of the many issues that plagued the Texans in 2020, their inability to force turnovers on the defensive side, especially when they were giving up so many yardage and so many points. You have to be able to counterbalance that some way, and the Texans just could not consistently come up with takeaways defensively last year. They had 3 of them in that game against the Packers. Now, again, they weren't facing Aaron Rodgers. It was Jordan Love playing really the first any type of NFL action that he had seen since he did not see the field as a rookie, and they were able to come up with a strip sack. They came up with another fumble, got an interception, and that's really been a point of emphasis for new defensive coordinator Lovie Smith, is finding a way to generate turnovers. And say what you want about how his tenure with the Bears ended, or how things went when he was the head coach of the Buccaneers. But if there's one thing you do know about Lovie Smith, is that he knows defense. And so maybe this Texans defense, not saying it's going to be the 85 Bears, but maybe they do enough things that they can keep the Texans in some games here or there. I've never been one of the ones saying that I think this team is going to be the first that goes 0-17, as now it's the first time that teams will play a 17-game regular season. It's the NFL. Fluky things happen all the time. I'm also not saying I think that off of one preseason game, the Texans are all of a sudden going to win 8, 9, 10 games. But I think you saw from the defense that if they're able to stay relatively healthy, they can keep the Texans in some games this year. And so far, everybody who we've spoken with on the defensive side of the ball has nothing but good things to say about Lovie Smith and his system that he's implementing. And that goes for one of the newer faces on the team, as well as a veteran who spoke to reporters this morning at Texans training camp.
Vibe and the energy is better. The culture here is a lot better. It's not like as much as like it was last year, but it's a lot of competition. It's a lot of good guys around here. Great team. Coach Cully, Coach Lovie Smith has brought in a culture that is just all about the team. So each and every day is about team. So I think guys are gravitating to it. We got the right guys in the locker room.
The coaches give us the tools, and the talent goes and execute, essentially. So it goes hand in hand. The talent has to take the tools, play extremely well, technical-wise, and then use their talents to go make plays.
Whitney was asked about the tools he referenced that the coaches are giving the players.
To be more instinctive, but play within the scheme and go make plays. Showing us techniques like, whether it's ripping, dipping on some of the movements and things of that nature. I don't know exactly what's going on the back end. Don't know. I'm a D lineman now. So it seems like they're playing a lot faster, a lot freer. A few things that needs to be corrected as far as, some fits, and also just making sure we don't get blown over the top, things of that nature. But they're giving us all the tools, especially up front, using hands, technique, things that we've been coached nearly all our lives.
Whitney Merciless and Ross Blacklock this morning at training camp, echoing sentiments that we heard from some of the other members of the defense, notably in the backfield yesterday, as far as they like what Lovie Smith is doing. And so far they're trying to keep it very simple. And again, I don't think that they're going to be a top 10 defense. I don't think that this means, the Texans are all of a sudden going to contend for the division title, but you saw some positive things there that if the Texans don't suffer a whole lot of injuries, and especially if Tyrod Taylor is able to stay upright, then maybe they do mess around and win more games than perhaps Vegas or a lot of people are expecting them to. And then it's up to you as a fan how you feel about that. If a team that's in a rebuild and that has had so few first and second round draft picks the last few years, if you want them to become in danger of possibly not securing the number 1 overall pick. But some positive signs from the defense after preseason game number 1, and we'll see how things continue as they get ready to head to Dallas this weekend. All right, checking in on the Astros. They just got through the top of the first, still scoreless, 1 out now in the bottom of the first. KC up to bat for the Royals. So we will keep you updated with what is going on there. Framber Valdez on the bump for the Astros tonight, as they are trying to bounce back from a game last night where the bullpen struggled and Salvador Perez came through with the go-ahead hit in the 8th inning, and the Royals were able to steal one from the Astros, who actually over the last month and a half, if you go back to that last week right before the All-Star break, remember they lost the series finale against the Oakland Athletics. Then they lost the first 2 games at Minute Maid to the Yankees before that wild walk-off win right before the All-Star break, where Altuve deposits one in the Crawford box, and then they're ripping his shirt off and making fun of all the nonsense that the Yankees had been doing that whole series. But going back since then, since that first loss to Oakland, the Astros are just 16-15, 1 game above 500. Now, because of how well they had been playing up until that point, that's why they still have the 2.5-game lead in the division entering tonight. And while obviously they still have a number of guys who are out for various reasons, the Astros have had to try to piece things together. And of course, they made a number of moves at the deadline, tried to reinforce that bullpen, which up until last night had been doing everything that you wanted from them. They were getting guys out. They were able to help pick up a starting rotation that was not giving them the type of length that they had been giving them earlier in the year. And now, of course, the Stros dealing with a number of guys out of the lineup. Obviously, Alex Bregman still trying to come back from that quad injury. He's been down in Sugar Land. He has yet to play this past weekend. Remember, the thought was on Friday he could be activated, but he has yet to actually suit up for the Skeeters. He has been posting videos of himself working out down at Constellation Field, running, says he feels good and says everything's going well, but it's been a long time since he has faced big league pitching, and the Stros are going to need all their regulars back if they're going to not just finish off this stretch run where there's a lot of teams jumbled around there in the American League, especially if the Stros do find themselves possibly falling down to the wild card or one of those wild card spots. Again, 2.5 games up on Oakland, but that's also just 2.5 games up on the field because Oakland right now has the first wild card spot. So they need Bregman to come back. Kyle Tucker, we found out, came down with COVID. Dusty Baker said before today's game he doesn't have an update yet on him, on just when Kyle Tucker will be back. And then Yordan Alvarez was actually pulled from the game last night, pinch hit for in the late innings. Taylor Jones actually came up as the pinch hitter and came away with an RBI and put the Stros in front. And Dusty even joked that he was getting all kinds of comments and text messages from people saying, "Oh man, what a move, way to go, where did you think of that one?" And he said no, it actually turns out that Yordan Alvarez has been sick, battling a stomach bug. He is not in the lineup tonight. Dusty says TBD on if they could maybe use him as a pinch hitter late in the game, but right now Yordan dealing with illness, not COVID related. Dusty said that it's a stomach thing, and since he left the door open for him to possibly be pinch hit, that means he could not have failed a COVID test as far as we know right now. But just one of the many guys or regulars who are out for the Astros right now. Of course, Jose Urquidy, a member of the starting rotation, who the Stros are going to need to get these arms lined up and at least feeling well about themselves and where things stand as they get ready to head into October. I'm still a believer that there's no one team in the American League that you have to really be afraid of, or that even if you're the Stros, you can say, well, it's going to be tough to try to catch them, or how do we beat them in a 5-game or 7-game series? But all the other teams are saying the same thing about the Astros, that they don't think the Stros are the same that they were in 2019 or 2017. And so there's a lot of teams in the American League that are vying for a playoff spot and are going to make this thing interesting down the stretch. I did want to touch on this before we got out of here. If you saw yesterday, Jeff Passan of ESPN actually crunched the numbers. And if you look at the 7 worst teams in baseball, so we're talking the Orioles, the Royals, the Rangers in the American League, and then Arizona, the Cubs, the Pirates, and the Nationals in the NL, the Astros among American League contenders actually have the most games against those teams, the bottom feeders of the league, down the stretch. Houston has 16 games against teams that are currently among the 7 worst in baseball. And so that plays to their advantage. They have the best schedule down the stretch of any of the contenders. So they're in the driver's seat to secure home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And we've seen with everything they've had to deal with on the road, even though they've done a good job of it as a whole, everything that the Stros have had to contend with this year, just amplify that, crank it up to 11 if you're in the postseason. So it's all there for the Stros if they can continue to tread water as they wait for their roster to finally come back to full strength. Then they could be in a good position to get home field advantage throughout the playoffs. All right, that is going to do it for us. Still scoreless up at Kauffman, 2 outs in the bottom of the first. We will have those highlights for you tonight on Fox 26 News at 9. Of course, much more on Deshaun Watson, and then be sure to Follow us along tomorrow after Rusty Hardin. Deshaun Watson's attorney will hold his news conference in the morning. As always, we have the updates for you on our website. That's fox26houston.com. We will continue to do the Fox 26 Sports Stream every week. Go to our YouTube channel, go on our Facebook page, go to the website, and you'll be able to join in. And of course, our sports director, Mark Berman, has the most up-to-the-date info on all things Houston sports. He is at Mark Berman, Fox 26. All right, for all of us here at Fox 26 Sports, I'm Sal Manine. We'll see you again next week.